now we're up to number 3, as the party starts. So at some point you have to begin. You know, the chit-chat's over and you actually need to start, and you need to plant some seeds in people's heads about bookings from the very beginning. If you wait until the end to mention the fact that people could book, they're not going to have had time to process the thought, and you won't get any bookings. And I've been along to parties and watched them before where the consultant does a fantastic job but doesn't really mention anything to do with bookings until right at the very end, and it was almost like a, oh yeah, by the way, you can book a party if you want to. And because at that stage everyone's thinking about what they're going to order, or they're looking through the brochure, or whatever they're doing, they're really not able to process that thought, and bookings don't happen. So I guess it's a little bit like a romance. You wouldn't just walk up to a stranger on the street and ask them to marry you. Well, nobody that I know would do that, at least. Normally there's a bit of a process involved, there's a bit of a romance and a bit of getting to know each other, and there's just a process, and it's no different with the party. So the introduction is very important. How you start the party off is important. It's the first that they're going to hear from you officially, and it puts the frame in place for the rest of the evening. So I've got an introduction that I want to share with you, and it worked really well for me, and it has got 5 little parts to it, which sounds a bit like a big deal, but there are 5 steps, but they're very simple, and they get everything across that's needed in the right order. So let's start with that. First of all, you need to thank everyone for coming. So it's no more complicated than just saying, thanks everyone for coming, and thank you to Mary for inviting us here tonight. So that's the first part, thanks for coming. Second part is when we talk about how we know the host and why she booked. So it's something like, I met Mary a couple of weeks ago at Susan's party, and Mary really liked the products and she thought you would as well, so she's asked me to come and show them to you. Now that one sentence, no, it's 2 sentences, that little part is really, really important. And I'm wondering if you can see what we're doing. What I've done is I've said that Mary liked the products and thought you would too. So she asked me to come and show them to you. So suddenly, I'm not the one that's showing the products. Mary is. Mary is showing her products to her friends, not me. I'm only doing what she asked me to, which is bring them along. So that's the first thing. The second one is that I've mentioned that I met her a couple of weeks ago at Susan's party. So now I've just told everyone that Mary went to a party and she booked. So I've just planted a seed in their minds that they're at a party and they could book. So the little seed's already in there. Next is thank you from the company. So this is where we mention what she could get as host gifts. Now we're not going to go into a big explanation about the fact that if her friends buy and book, then Mary's going to get lots of free things, because that can be really uncomfortable for her and she doesn't like it. Quite often people don't like that. So instead I would just say something really simple like, Mary, can I just give you this voucher? It just lets you know what you could get as a thank you from the company. And then just hand her a voucher or a flyer which outlines very simply the host gifts. Now this needs to be visual, and it needs to have a dollar value on it and a little bit of writing, and you'll see why shortly. So your company might already have one, or you might need to make one up. Doesn't matter, as long as you've got something that you can give her that's got some pictures on it and it's quite clearly a host gift voucher. If the host gifts are something that the host would choose from a dollar amount that she achieves, so she could have anything she wants from your range up to a certain dollar amount, then on the voucher just have an example of what you could get from a reasonable party. So let's say for example it could be $500 and 2 bookings. Make sure it's detailed on there what she has to do to get the gift to the value of what's shown in the picture. Now you could even attach some fake money to the voucher, which shows the value of the gift as well. So it's all just visual and just letting people get the idea. Next is we're going to give her a small gift from ourselves. Just something small that's wrapped nicely. It doesn't have to be anything big at all. And I've even given a little bottle before, just a really inexpensive little bottle filled with jelly beans. I put the jelly beans in there to match the company colours and wrapped it up with a ribbon and some cellophane, and that's all it needs to be. So you've just given a thank you from the company, and I think it's really nice now to thank her ourselves personally. And all you need to say here is, look, here's a small thank you from me, and I just want you to know I really appreciate you going to the trouble of organising tonight. Without people like you, I don't have a business at all, and I'm really grateful for your support. I think that's a nice little touch. And the last part is now directed at everybody in the room. And this is where you tell everyone what could happen for them if they book a party. So in this part, we're going to give everybody one of those host vouchers to look at. And this is really important because it's going to open something that we're going to close later on in the party that we're going to talk about again a little bit later on. So what you could say when you do this is something like this. Just in case you're curious about what I gave Mary earlier as a thank you from the company, I'd like to give you one now to look at. Later on, there's going to be a chance for you to decide if you'd like to get some friends together, but in the meantime, you can just have a look at this. Then just hand everybody a voucher. Now, this voucher becomes a really important tool now because it becomes a way of being able to see what people are thinking. Now, you've got no idea, if everyone's just sitting there, you've got no idea what's running through their heads. But with the voucher, you can see it. Because throughout the party, some people are going to be constantly looking at it. They're going to pick it up, look at it, turn it over, read it, put it back down again. Then a little bit later, they're going to pick it up again, look at it, turn it over, read it, put it down again. Whereas some people are going to look at it and put it down and never pick it up again. Now, what's happening is that every time they're running through their head the thought of having a party, we can see it because their hands show us what they're thinking. They're thinking, oh, I wonder if I could do this. I wonder if I could have a party. And that's when they pick it up and read it. So when it comes to the end of the party, we know who are the people most likely to book. The people who've been looking at it are, and the people who've just picked it up and put it straight down, not to look at it again, are not going to book. So later on we're going to come back to this, and I'm going to show you how to get the bookings from these people without even really asking for it. Okay, so let's just put the whole introduction together. I'm just going to tell you how the whole thing could sound, going through all the 5 stages. So just to show you it's not such a big deal. It took me a while to explain it. So I just want to thank everybody for coming, and thank you, Mary, for inviting us here tonight. Now, I actually met Mary a couple of weeks ago at Susan's party, and Mary really liked the products and she thought that you would as well, so that's why she's asked me to come and show them to you tonight. Now, Mary, can I just give you this voucher? It just lets you know what you could get as a thank you from the company for organising tonight, and here's a small thank you from me as well. I really appreciate you going to all the trouble of organising this evening, and without people like you, I just don't have a business, so I'm really grateful to your support, for your support. Now, just in case anyone's curious about what I gave Mary earlier as a thank you from the company, I'd like to give you one to look at now. Later on, there's going to be a chance for you to decide if you'd like to get some friends together yourself, but in the meantime, you can just have a look at this. So there we go. There's the introduction, and then we're ready to move into the rest of the party. Now, when I was doing this, I used to get a bit worried about forgetting a part, so the way that I got around that was I would put everything I needed for this introduction on my lap. The voucher from the company, the little gift from me, and everything that I needed. And then I'd know that if I got to the end of the introduction and there was still something on my lap, I hadn't finished, so it would be a little prompt. Okay, so there's the introduction.